YouTube says it has had enough of vaccine misinformation on its site.
And false stories from phony sites to run circles around major news outlets.
Many people don't know the difference between something real and something created to deceive them.
Open your eyes.
If you've ever had this feeling that something was terribly wrong with the world that we live in, but you couldn't figure out just what it was, then you've come to the right place. Secret societies, mystery religions, and the Illuminati have been controlling our reality since the beginning of time. But not anymore, because there is an awakening happening, and you are about to become a part of it. Wake up, because this is a call for an uprising.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. A picture's worth 1,000 words. It's a saying that most of us hear all the time. And how about this picture of Donald Trump on the cover of The Atlantic? Of course, we know that most MAGA and Republicans will say, well, he didn't pick that picture. They took a photo of him, and they're the ones who put him on a liberal magazine cover doing the all-seeing eye. But what's most interesting to note along with this all-seeing eye symbolism is the quote that's right on the cover that comes out of his own mouth that says, "I run the country and the world." How much more truth in plain sight do you actually need to see that Trump was the hand-chosen person to bring about the New World Order? The brainwashing is so thick that the majority of these conservatives actually think that they're awake to conspiracies, despite, of course, Donald Trump telling you years ago he would drain the swamp and arrest Hillary Clinton and investigate that pizza parlor that they now all conveniently forget about in Washington, D.C. And then this time around, they were told about their newest favorite conspiracy that was created by the CIA themselves that involved Jeffrey Epstein's island and a flight log list. And of course, that hasn't been released either. Of course, they've given out some information, supposedly, which of course is all controlled information, which is all make-believe information, to the alt-right media. If you hadn't seen that, where they had the alt-right media show up at the White House and they all received binders because they were the chosen media, the controlled media, because they're CIA operatives as well. So Donald Trump hasn't proven anything to anybody about not being part of the deep state, but when you create false flags and you create psychological operations and you build a martyr in the minds of the people, then the support that Donald Trump began to gain and the momentum that he gained, it's almost unpenetratable at this point. All it took was a few fake assassination attempts. And how come since then nobody said, well, how come they haven't tried to kill him again? How come they conveniently had a kid that looked like he couldn't even walk down the road without somebody holding his hand, somehow outsmart the Secret Service, and then miss his ear by an inch? When the government has DARPA technology, DARPA could have easily used a smart bullet which can curve, which could not miss. There's so many things behind the stuff with Donald Trump that should be questioned, but they don't question it. The second fake assassination attempt, right? All these things built this up in everyone's mind that Donald Trump was going to end the deep state and stop the New World Order, that these people haven't even thought for 5 seconds as to why they haven't tried to kill him again, because if history has taught us anything, as we were told in The Godfather, that anyone can be killed. And certainly someone like Donald Trump, who was out in the open playing golf every other day, if they wanted him dead, they could have him dead. So all the people who you would think would be waking up, and thinking about potential revolutions to stop this New World Order for coming in, of course, believe that the same person who has been selected by the globalists to bring it in is actually the one stopping it. That's how deep the psychosis goes, as all of you actually know. So Donald Trump is on the cover of The Atlantic. He's saying, I run the country and the world, and that couldn't be more truthful. I'm going to play it for you, this clip, and of course you could hear how fictional this phone conversation is between Donald Trump and the reporter from The Atlantic who goes by the name of Michael Shearer. But it doesn't even sound like Donald Trump on the other end of the phone. But here he is talking about how he runs the country and the world.
Hello, is this?
Hello. Hello, it's cool, right?
This is Michael. Hello, is President Trump there?
Who's calling?
This is Michael Shearer. I'm a reporter for The Atlantic. You wrote.
Oh, I know who you are, Michael. I know who you are.
You
never write good about me, Michael. Never, ever. This time I had two things to do: run the country and survive. I had all these crooked guys, And the second time I run the country in the world, because, it's the world I'm trying to save.
I have to ask you this last question, because you asked him about the rumors that he'd instructed the DOJ to look into a potential 2028 run. Trump told you it's not something he's looking into, but the Trump organization has started selling Trump 2028 hats. So is this more of Trump, having fun, making money off of it, or is this serious? I mean, is it shtick or is it serious?
I think it is largely shtick. If you read his words when we asked him that question, he was sort of chuckling to himself about what a huge deal it would be to go so obviously against the plain language of the 22nd Amendment. Now, he does not rule it out completely, and that's sort of the kernel here. But there are a lot of strategic reasons for him to do that. I don't think we can say 100% he's not going to pursue this, but he could pretend like it's an option as a way of increasing his power in the Republican primary going into 2028 once he's a lame duck after the midterms. But he was clearly signaling that it wasn't something he was pursuing. And like you said, we had heard this rumor that there had been a request for some sort of formal legal opinion. And he said, point of fact, no, that's not something he was seeking.
And of course, you also heard him talking about that potential third term in 2028. I covered that in a recent video, even selling those MAGA 2028 hats, having Elon Musk tweet out MAGA 2032. And these people just continue to cheer for it. These same nationalists who are all about the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. But when it comes to changing the rules and the laws so that it fits what they want, they don't seem to care too much about the Constitution at all. And with Donald Trump on the cover doing this, again, how many times have we seen every single celebrity doing this all-seeing eye symbolism? This is some of the most obvious all-seeing eye symbolism. But in addition to that, how often do we see Trump doing the triangle of power with his hands? How many times do we see Donald Trump holding up the 666 sign, which has become the calling card for MAGA? Well, he does it over and over and over. And I've covered every single thing you could possibly imagine with Donald Trump to try to wake people up over the years, and they refuse to believe it. Even being endorsed by the Fraternal Order of the Police, which, of course, is a Freemasonic organization where you could even see in their logo the Freemasonic handshake and the Freemasonic all-seeing eye. You see all the stuff in their logo, but of course, he's endorsed by them. He has to accept his endorsement, right? They put him on a magazine cover. He didn't have anything to do with the magazine cover. It's excuse after excuse after excuse. But all anyone should have to look at to know that this man has been chosen to bring about the New World Order are the agendas that he's behind. That's it. You don't have to believe the magazine cover if you don't want to. If you don't believe in signs and symbols, then don't. But that's how they operate. That's the truth in plain sight. You don't want to believe him being endorsed by the Freemasonic Fraternal Order of the Police, who are the ones responsible, who are going along with all of these agendas like the race wars that we've seen over the years, where the police are just so clueless that they're arresting and attacking black people every time they pull them over. Of course, this is all being done by design by the Fraternal Order of the Police, because remember, the motto of the Freemasons is about their brotherhood and making better men better. And it's all about loyalty to one another. And they're all guilty of treason, just like Donald Trump and all these politicians are, because they're all members of the same secret societies, right? So if that stuff's not enough for you, what people should be looking at are just the initial agendas here within a few months of Donald Trump being put in power, okay? Donald Trump, again, on the record, saying Canada should become a U.S. state once again, as they just had their fake elections in Canada. He tweeted out, "Good luck to the great people of Canada. Elect the man who has the strength and wisdom to cut your taxes in half, increase your military power for free to the highest level in the world, have your car, steel, aluminum, lumber, energy, and all other businesses quadruple in size with zero tariffs or taxes. If Canada becomes the cherished 51st state of the United States of America, no more artificially drawn line from many years ago. Look how beautiful this landmass would be. Free access with no border, all positives with no negatives. It was meant to be. American can no longer subsidize Canada with the hundreds of billions of dollars a year that we have been spending in the past. It makes no sense unless Canada is a state." So I'm reading you that because this is, again, something I've talked about many times. Most of you already heard this and know this, but every day is another opportunity to wake people up. The Club of Rome's blueprint for a 10-kingdom plan involves the United States merging with Canada and Greenland. What's the only thing you've been hearing about since Trump's come in office? Buying and taking Greenland, right, for our national security. Talking about Canada being the little brother and becoming the 51st state. Do you think this is coincidental? That this is the map? You don't hear Donald Trump talking about, I don't know, Kazakhstan, some other country so far away trying to take it over because of natural resources there. No, it's just Greenland and Canada. Why? Because they're so close to us? And why does the border need to go up on the southern border? Well, because Mexico will not be a part of the North American Union that they're bringing in. In fact, Mexico's plan in all this and how they tie in is the digital ID, keeping people from Mexico out because you've been convinced that they're dangerous and they're terrorists and they're going to come after your kids and go after your young women and they're going to bring fentanyl, right? And that's all about bringing in the digital ID. And of course, all the stuff with Greenland couldn't be more ridiculous. Everybody out there with common sense should know that they want, not only because of the 10 Kingdom plan that Greenland is a part of the United States, but everything that's going on up at Devon Island is part of the Mars deception that's going to come. The U.S. military bases need to be off the coast of Devon Island because you aren't going to be able to get anywhere near that region. No boats are going to get near there. No, so you're not going to get within 100 miles of that area because that's where they plan on colonizing Mars. It's going to be a fictional act that they convince people is real, that we're really on Mars when all of this has been getting prepped for years by NASA, by SpaceX, to pretend that they're in Mars in outer space when they're up in Devon Island. It's uninhabited. It's a massive amount of space, and it looks exactly like what you've been told Mars looks like, right? Which is by design. They've given you this vision of what Mars is supposed to look like based off of what Devon Island looks like. And once they have Greenland, it'll be more secure for the United States of America's military bases to be sitting right off the coast of Devon Island because you won't be escaping if you want to escape it. You won't be getting near there if you want to expose it, unless, of course, they want some type of psyop out of it like they did with Bohemian Grove and Alex Jones, where they conveniently let him go in so that they could build him up into a hero when everybody out there knows nobody would ever get in with a camera, especially back at that time period where, he couldn't really pocket too many devices into there that would be, so small that people wouldn't notice. But of course, you go through a metal detector, and Alex Jones would have been dead if he was actually going into Bohemian Grove and exposing anything. And as we've heard over the years, he's changed his stance completely on Bohemian Grove, even doing an interview with Dr. Drew, where he was actually defending and saying that the people who attend Bohemian Grove are not all satanic. It's just a small section of the people at Bohemian Grove who are Satanists, which I should expose in another video, but I'll continue here with everything going on with Donald Trump. So we have the 10 Kingdom plan, okay? That should wake people up. And I don't want to be repetitive here, but I need to talk about how Canada just elected Carney as Mike Carney. Can't make it up. Carney, Carnival Circus, that's what this is, as the newest prime minister. Now, this is 100% proof that these elections are completely fake. If it wasn't already obvious enough, there is zero chance that anyone in Canada would have elected this guy after everything Trudeau put Canada through, especially when it comes to the carbon tax. Now, he's pretending like he's not going to bring back the carbon tax, but nobody's been a bigger proponent of the carbon tax with the exception of maybe Elon Musk. And he's all about the pro-green agenda. And this fits in better with the United States and Canada, with the friction between the two countries having this character put into power, because they're going to start taxing at the border. The carbon tax is going to be at the border, and we're going to pay for it out of pocket, as we always do. It's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be presented a little bit different. And you're going to start hearing the whole tit for tat nonsense with Trump, right? That's the character he plays, tit for tat. Canada, ooh, we're going to raise your tariff, you're going to raise our tariff. China's raising the tariff, I'm going to raise it 125%, right? Well, just wait until Carney puts the carbon tax at the border on the United States of America at a high value, and then Trump comes back and does the same thing, and everyone will cheer. They'll cheer because it'll be like, hey, Trump's getting them back. You do that to us, we'll do that to you. We're the big bad bully on the block. Without realizing, by doing that, you're now establishing the carbon tax as a real thing in our society. Now, we know the United Nations just passed the carbon tax on shipping emissions, and it's only going to continue from there. So we're going to see Carney versus Trump, which is going to bring about this cross-border carbon tax, which will play in perfectly to bring in a carbon tax and normalize a carbon tax. Just they'll distract people and make it seem like this tick for tat type of mentality that Trump's just doing it to them because they're doing it to us. But again, Carney would never have won this election in a million years if elections were real. The people in Canada, doesn't matter if they have liberal ideologies versus conservative ideologies, they have gone through the carbon tax. This guy is a proponent for the carbon tax. He's the last person they would have voted in. And with all the nonsense with Trudeau, with the truckers, PSYOP, and everything else that has gone on, there is no chance that these people would have voted for him to go into office. The other thing, of course, with Trump, in addition to all these things that we see going on with the 10 Kingdom plan, how convenient that this has always been the Club of Rome's plan. And now all of a sudden he's put in power and you're hearing him talk about acquiring Greenland and Canada. Should be enough, right? Well, how about the AI infrastructure? Maybe this should just be enough, okay? Because most of these people just don't understand what it is, and they think that it means, oh, we're in a race with China. We got to race China, right? Oh, Trump's in a race with China to bring in AI infrastructure, right? $500 billion on day one, standing on stage with some of the biggest scum of the earth like Sam Altman and the Oracle CEO, who you can't even look at, the guy's so grotesque, talking about how we're bringing in AI infrastructure, right? Even the White House having their artificial intelligence for the American people portfolio on their website that you can go through and view. And where does this all stem from? Well, it all stems from the World Economic Forum. You know, the same people that Trump goes and mingles with, did a live stream with them this year, him and Claus kissing each other's rear end, been there before, talking about what a great job Claus is doing. Yet this shows you the psychosis these people are in, right? But they look at it and they go, oh, he's just playing 5D chess. Have you ever heard people make more excuses in your life for somebody? I mean, the idol worship is so sickening. It's unbelievable. But the fake assassination attempt really put Trump at a different level where you cannot penetrate the minds of these people because they are under such a spell that it's sad and it's embarrassing. And the alt-right media is responsible, of course, which is a government operation, this COINTELPRO. They brought all these agents in. They replaced the actual truth movement, which was exposing the left-right paradigm, which was telling you that, look, this is not real, okay? Your vote does not count. This is how they keep the people divided. This is how they keep the people distracted. This is how they keep people down one another's throats instead of looking at the obvious conspirators here, which are the left and the right working together to divide you and eventually strip you of all your laws, because you put a Democrat in power for 4 years, then you put a Republican in power. And what do you see happen during that time period? Laws and rights get stripped. And then the other way on the seesaw, laws and rights get stripped. And it goes back and forth, back and forth. Now we have no free speech for the most part. Now we've established things like hate speech, which are nothing more than make-believe words that limit the ability of people to express themselves and expose these people, because that's really what hate speech is in place for. Oh, that's hate speech, right? Can't really label it conspiracy speech. They just call it hate speech. They go, oh, you're talking about all of us as being conspirators together? Well, that's hateful because some of the people involved might be gay and some of the people might be Jewish. Nope, you're not allowed to speak anymore, right? So AI governance is the plan of the United Nations and the World Economic Forum, and it's exactly what Donald Trump's bringing in. It's right off the World Economic Forum's website. If you listen to these boring meetings that they have every year, it's all they talk about is AI infrastructure. It's all that the United Nations talks about. The Sustainable Development Goals is all about AI governance, okay, which is full control over you and your life and everything else. And the carbon tax conveniently ties into that heavily, because that's how they monitor your carbon footprint. What you do, where you go, how you spend, your behavior. And that's what we're going to start seeing now with Carney and Trump going back and forth. So, yeah, I'm sure it's just a conspiracy that Trump's on the cover of the magazine, doing all-seeing eye symbolism. There's other things that Trump's doing right now, which I'll do separate videos on, including the stuff with autonomous vehicles. As most of you know, I've warned for years and years and years about autonomous vehicles. Everybody said conservatives will never be on board with that crap. They're never going to drive electric vehicles. They're all about oil, gas. They're macho men, right? All it took was a psyop around Elon Musk. Elon Musk pretending that he's going to give you your tax money back. He's going after the deep state. He's going after these people that are wasting your money. So, oh, wow, he becomes a hero in your mind. Then they martyr him, right? Just like Trump. They tell you that they're blowing up Tesla buildings, that they're blowing up Teslas. And then all of a sudden, Donald Trump says, we all need to buy Teslas to support him. And all these suckers go out and buy Teslas, and all the alt-right media is driving around in cyber trucks. And the next thing you know, Donald Trump's coming out saying, we're going to speed up autonomous vehicles, right? Autonomous vehicles. These are all New World Order initiatives. This is how they gain control over your every move in your life. Autonomous vehicles are death traps, okay? It means you cannot move freely in their control grid. That's what it means. And so does AI infrastructure governance. So Trump's bringing all this stuff in. He's on the cover of the magazine doing the all-seeing eye. But you already know what's going to come. What's going to come is these people are going to say, he didn't pick the picture for the magazine cover. They didn't even photograph him. They just took a picture. Then they decided to make the picture the one-eye symbolism. And they're the ones who decided to say and put on the cover that I run the country and the world, even though he said it out of his own mouth. And then I'm sure they'll even say, because That was a sketchy audio clip that he never said that, right? You know all that's coming because that's how they play these people. 5D chess, 6D chess, 33D chess. They buy it, they buy it, they buy it. He literally could come out wearing a World Wrestling Federation or whatever it's called, WWE, NWO t-shirt with Elon Musk, and they'll say that he's trolling. He could come out on TV next to somebody dressed as the Baphomet, and they'd say that he's trolling. They could show him at a satanic ritual. They say he's trolling. They could show him at Bohemian Grove. They say that he's trolling. That's all. Because that is what mind control is. And these people who think they're awake are under it worse than the other side of the aisle, the Democrats, at this point. Because all you need to do is look at the initiatives. And if you're not educated on it because you're spending time listening to Matt Walsh talk about men playing women's sports, well, it's time to come out of that. And it's time to say, okay, what is the New World Order? What is what does their government look like? Is the Tower of Babel recreated really artificial intelligence and connecting the world via the internet and digital IDs where you only be able to go online? If you have a digital ID, you only be able to buy or sell like the mark of the beast. Okay. Well, why don't we pay attention to the things that he's doing? Not the things about women playing women's sports and men playing men's sports. How about the actual New World Order initiatives? Then come and try to argue with me about whether or not he's compromised, right? A tree is known by its fruit, as the Bible tells us. Well, these are all things that we've all discussed for decades, right? Including the fact that this guy's the father of the vaccine and bragged about it when we all talked about how they had to get that nanotech inside of you, and then he's the one who brought it in, right? And everybody conveniently just dismisses that too. Just like all the other stuff, they conveniently dismiss. All the pictures of him with Jeffrey, we dismiss those. We don't care about that. He had to rub shoes playing 5D chess then, right? How much stuff do you need to see to realize both parties are compromised? And all this does is prevent a revolution, and they're leading and herding people into the AI infrastructure Tower of Babel being rebuilt. So there he is on the magazine cover, folks, doing the all-seeing eye. But we all know they'll make every excuse in the book for him. I thank everybody for being here. Hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families as always.